She walked into the airport like any other traveler, calm, composed, and unnoticed. But when two airline staff mocked her and questioned her right to fly first class, they had no idea who they were dealing with. What happened next left the entire crew speechless and cost them their jobs. This is the story of a quiet powerhouse who taught them a lesson they'll never forget. The Airbus A350 hummed softly at 38,000 feet, slicing through the crisp March air above the Alps. Inside the first-class cabin of Air Europa Flight 217 from Paris to Madrid, the atmosphere was plush but tense. Maya Reynolds sat by the window in seat 1A, her tailored cream blazer catching the light, paired with a silk scarf that draped elegantly over her shoulders. Her skin, a deep mahogany, glowed under the soft cabin lighting, and her poised demeanor radiated quiet confidence. She was a vision of sophistication, scrolling through emails on her tablet, oblivious to the storm brewing a few rows back. Behind the galley curtain, two flight attendants, Lars, a wiry man with a sharp jaw, and Elena, a petite woman with a smug grin, whispered to each other. Their eyes darted toward Maya, their words dripping with disdain. "Look at her," Lars muttered, folding a napkin with unnecessary force. "Thinks she's some kind of queen up here. Who does she think she's fooling?" Elena smirked, adjusting her uniform. "Probably used Daddy's credit card to upgrade. I mean first class? Her?" She punctuated the word with a scoff, loud enough to draw a glance from a nearby passenger. Maya didn't flinch. She'd heard worse, far worse, in her 42 years. Growing up in London's Brixton neighborhood, she'd navigated taunts and sidelong glances from people who couldn't fathom a black girl dreaming beyond their narrow expectations. Now, as the chief operating officer of the European Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, she'd learned to let ignorance roll off her like water off glass. But today, something about the air felt different, thicker, charged. The plane hit a pocket of turbulence, and the seatbelt sign pinged on. Lars seized the moment, striding out from the galley with a tray of champagne flutes. He stopped at Maya's row, his smile tight and performative. "Champagne, ma'am?" he asked, his tone syrupy with condescension. Before she could answer, he leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "You sure you're in the right cabin? Economy's a bit more your speed, don't you think?" Maya's fingers paused on her tablet. She looked up, her dark eyes locking onto his. "Excuse me?" Her voice was calm, measured, like the still surface of a lake hiding depths unknown. Lars chuckled, glancing back at Elena, who'd joined him now, arms crossed. "Oh, no offense," he said, raising a hand. "Just saying first class is for a certain caliber. You know?" Elena piped up, emboldened. "Yeah, we've seen people sneak up here before. Happens all the time. Maybe someone made a mistake at check-in." The other passengers, mostly wealthy Europeans and a few business types, shifted uncomfortably. Some pretended not to hear. Others smirked into their drinks. Racism wasn't loud here. It was subtle, insidious, cloaked in polite smiles and coded words. But Maya knew it when she felt it. She'd spent her career dismantling it, one policy, one confrontation at a time. She set her tablet down, folding her hands in her lap. "I'm exactly where I belong," she said, her British accent crisp and unyielding. "Perhaps you should check your passenger manifest before making assumptions." Lars's grin faltered, but he doubled down. "Oh, we'll check it all right. Wouldn't want any mix-ups, would we?" He turned to Elena with a theatrical wink. "Let's see who our VIP really is." They sauntered back to the galley, laughing under their breath, leaving a wake of tension in the cabin. Maya exhaled slowly, her mind racing. She didn't need this, not today. She was en route to Madrid for a critical meeting with airline executives, a summit that could shape safety regulations across the continent. But this was personal, and she wasn't about to let it slide. The Airbus A350 glided over the snow-capped Alps, its first-class cabin a cocoon of luxury and unspoken tension. Maya Reynolds sat in seat 1A, her cream blazer pristine, her silk scarf a quiet statement of elegance. At 42, she carried herself with the poise of someone who'd clawed her way from London's Brixton streets to the pinnacle of power. As Chief Operating Officer of the European Aviation Safety Agency, EASO, she wielded authority over every airline crisscrossing the continent, including Air Europa, the very carrier now ferrying her from Paris to Madrid. But the two flight attendants hovering behind the galley curtain didn't know that. Not yet. Lars, a wiry Swede with a sharp jaw, and Elena, a Spaniard with a smirk that could curdle milk, had been watching her since takeoff. Maya's deep mahogany skin and tailored attire seemed to unsettle them, an affront to their unspoken rules about who belonged in first class. "She's got some nerve," Lars muttered, folding a napkin with a snap, sitting up there like she owns the place. Elena leaned in, her voice a conspiratorial hiss. "Probably begged for an upgrade. Look at her, first class? Please." Maya heard them. She always did. Decades of microaggressions had honed her senses to a razor's edge. She scrolled through emails on her tablet, her face a mask of calm, but inside a familiar ember glowed. She'd faced this before, on buses, in boardrooms, at border checks. Racism wasn't a relic. It was a living, breathing thing, slinking through the world in tailored uniforms and polite sneers. The plane jolted through turbulence, and the seatbelt sign flickered on. Lars seized his chance, striding out with a tray of champagne flutes. He stopped at Maya's seat, his smile a thin veneer over contempt. "Champagne, ma'am?" he asked, then leaned closer. "You sure you're in the right cabin? Economy's more your speed, don't you think?" Maya's fingers stilled. She met his gaze, her dark eyes steady. "Excuse me?" Elena joined him, arms crossed. "No offense," she said, her tone anything but. "We just see people sneak up here sometimes. Mistakes happen." The cabin grew quiet. A businessman in 2C coughed into his newspaper. A woman in a Chanel suit glanced over her glasses. Maya set her tablet down, folding her hands. "I'm exactly where I belong. Perhaps you should check your manifest before assuming otherwise." Lars's grin twitched. "Oh, we will. Let's see who our mystery VIP is." He winked at Elena, and they retreated to the galley, their laughter a jagged edge in the air. Maya exhaled, her mind racing. She didn't need this, not today. She was headed to Madrid for a summit with airline CEOs, a meeting that could ground fleets if she deemed them unsafe. But this wasn't about policy. This was personal, and she'd had enough. In the galley, Lars yanked the manifest from a clipboard. "Maya Reynolds," he read aloud, snorting. "Sounds fancy. Bet she's some influencer with a rich boyfriend." Elena scrolled her phone, hunting for dirt. "Nothing on Instagram. Weird. Maybe she's a nobody after all." "Or maybe," came a voice from behind, "you're digging a hole you can't climb out of." They spun around. Maya stood there, all 5'9" of her, her presence filling the cramped space. Lars paled. "Passengers aren't allowed back here." "I'm not just a passenger," she cut in, her British accent slicing through his bluster. "I'm the woman who can ground this plane, and your careers, with one phone call." Elena laughed nervously. "What, you're some big shot? Prove it." Maya pulled out her phone, tapped a contact, and put it on speaker. A man's voice crackled through. EASA headquarters, Director General's office. Pierre, it's Maya, she said, her eyes never leaving Lars. I'm on Air Europa 217. Seems their staff needs a refresher on passenger rights and who signs their safety certificates. A pause. Then, Maya Reynolds? The COO? Mon Dieu, what's going on? Lars's tray clattered to the floor. Elena's smirk vanished. The cabin, now a captive audience, buzzed with whispers. Two attendants, Lars Nilsson and Elena Garcia, have been harassing me since takeoff, Maya continued, doubting my right to be in first class. I'd like their personnel files on my desk by tomorrow, and a full audit of Air Europa's diversity training. Of course, Madam Reynolds, Pierre stammered. I'll notify their CEO now. She hung up, pocketing the phone. Lars stammered, We didn't know. You didn't ask, she said. You saw my skin, my clothes, and decided I didn't belong. That's your failure, not mine. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been instructed to expedite our descent into Madrid. Please remain seated. Elena blinked, dazed. You can't do this. I already have, Maya replied, turning back to her seat. Enjoy the rest of your flight. The plane landed 20 minutes later, and as passengers disembarked, Lars and Elena stood frozen, faces ashen. Maya paused at the jetway, glancing back. Oh, and one more thing, she called. I'll be at your headquarters next week. Tell your boss to expect me. She stepped into the terminal, her heels clicking against the tile, leaving them and the onlookers reeling. Word spread fast. By morning, that Air Europa fail trended across X, with passengers recounting the scene. Some praised her. Others debated if she'd overreacted. The airline issued a tepid apology, promising internal reviews, but the damage was done. In her Madrid hotel, Maya sipped tea, gazing at the city lights. She'd won this round, but the war wasn't over. Racism didn't vanish with one victory. It lingered, waiting for the next flight, the next room. She'd keep fighting, though, not just for herself, but for every person who'd ever been told they didn't belong. The next day, an email pinged. Air Europa's CEO requested a meeting. Subject: Urgent collaboration. Maya smiled faintly. The tables had turned. But for how long? The world was watching now, and she'd make sure it didn't look away.